Alright, we're going to take a shot at changing the spark plugs on a 2008 Toyota Sienna with the V6 motor in it. I think it's the only one that they put in it just about. I'm surprised there's going to be a fair amount of trim takeoff, I think, just to be able to get to the back 3 plugs on the van. The information for the home mechanic to try to get in there is pretty crummy, so I thought I might spare someone some misery if I can do that. One of the first things that you have to do is remove the wiper arms, which was a little bit of an issue at first until I figured out the trick, which is these little guys here. They're just black plastic covers. The black plastic cover went right over the wiper arm end there. With it off, that exposes the nut that held the wiper arm on. So I've removed the nut, taken the wiper arms off, and just so I don't lose the nut, I've screwed it back on here. Next step will be to remove some hooks that keep this plastic cowling right here that I'm lifting up on. That's going to have to come up and off in order to get to the back 3 plugs on this van. I looked around for some nuts to loosen to take the cover off, but this plastic cover just pops off and on. There were none that I could find, so I think it's just simply a pop-on, pop-off type item. The goal is going to be able to get back in here to remove the, I guess what I would call it, the upper intake manifold here that's held on. It's got some tubing and some other connections, and then the connection here to the air filter and some other sensors all there in order to expose the other bank of spark plugs. Haven't gotten them off, but that should be the 3 plugs on the front side. If only the back side would be as easy to change as the front side, but we'll give it a shot. Keep going. Okay, next step to take this cowling off here is you have to look down below here, and right where I'm touching, right here is a hook. It's a plastic hook that you just kind of push in with a screwdriver, and that'll let you raise up a section of the cowling. I think there's about 6 of them, so you just have to wait till you find the next one, which is right here. Go along till you find the next one and work your way down until they're all off, and then I think once they've been loosened you'll be able to take the plastic cowling, which hopefully will give you a lot more room to get to work back in here. Okay, by working my way along, I was able to get the hooks on the underside. There's one of them right there, released. The corners go underneath this rubber soft cowling plastic, and with a little gentle coercion we have the cowling off. Might be hard to see, but that's the type of hook that you're working with. So you just pushed in order to make it try to release. The wiper motor and the linkage is going to have to come out in order to get this whole big piece of cowling to come out. You have to disconnect an electrical connector right here. And you can't see it until you've got it removed, or if you had a mirror like I did, you can see the back side of it. There's a little spot there where you can depress it right there, down, squeezing it to release it. You just couldn't see it from here. So while it's on there, reach behind, squeeze it, and then you can remove it. The entire wiper motor in the linkage is only held in by 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3. There's one right there. Once you have them all out, the motor and everything comes out. Those are just the bolts, the 4 bolts there that hold it in. And of course, remember, you have to have your one electrical connection right there disconnected. Next bolt to be removed or segment is this cowl brace bracket piece right here. It's a 10mm nut there. There's another one back up here connecting it to the firewall, but I think you can just go ahead and if you disconnect this bracket from the cowl, that the whole cowl will be able to separate, and you won't have to separate these kind of delicate looking wiring connections because it'll all stay attached to this brace. This is a fuel pump resistor. It's only held on by one 10mm nut up in here, so that'll come off and that'll separate the resistor from the cowling. As you can see, their cowling is getting closer and closer to being able to be removed. Looks like there was no way around it. I'm going to have to go ahead and disconnect this here and remove. There's plastic underneath here. You can squeeze these clips and all this wiring can disconnect from here and from here and then pull out. There's a rubber grommet that you just kind of squeeze and you can kind of get it through. And once I have those clips disconnected, I'll be able to pull all the wiring out. And it made it, for this connector here, you need to have a screwdriver. And all you have to do is just push down really kind of firmly on that, and you can get the whole. I already had that loosened, it doesn't come apart. It's a two-hand job, but make sure you just depress that plastic tab so that the connection can come out. Alright, looks like we're down to the last screws that hold the cowling in, which looks like there's 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that one there is probably the last one. We'll be able to get that cowling out and have a lot more room to work on the spark plugs. And with the bolts removed, the cowl was able to come up and out. I should also note that I did have to actually completely remove that center brace that I thought I might be able to leave in. It just got in the way too much when you're trying to lift out this cowling. So spare yourself the headache and just go ahead and take the extra step to remove the center brace entirely. On the left side of your now exposed upper intake manifold is one wiring harness here that you have to depress a lever on the top of it to get it to disconnect. And once you've got it squeezed and pressed down, then you can slide it back and off. Next tubing to disconnect is some ventilation tubing. This one right here. It has a squeeze type spring retaining mechanism here. So once you squeeze it, you can pull it directly off of this nipple here. And it was pretty buried behind a bunch of insulation, but a similar squeeze spring type clamp is on the other end for getting onto this nipple onto the intake. Alright. Two more smaller unclamped connections. One here. One here. That connected right there. Another return hose here, disconnected, and I release the pressure from that clamp here, and we now have the air intake off of the throttle body mechanism here. And we're going to keep working our way through those connections. To make things a little easier yet, I have removed this bit of connective hose here between the air cleaner and the path through the throttle body to the intake manifold. This piece here could be pretty much laid aside once I've disconnected it right there. And I'm just going to kind of pick it up and push it out of the way for a moment. And now we can actually get a good look at the throttle body and continue to disconnect the hoses that are connected to it. Trying to make sure I keep track of each one of them so that I can remember to hook them back up whenever we're done with this. Couple more hoses to be removed. One right here, the other one right there, and there. I can see those two getting swapped around accidentally, so I'll mark this one with a blue dot and the connection over there so that later on, whenever I hook them back up, I know I've got them right. These are the type of clamps you have to do with a set of pliers, just to pinch it, pull it back. And then once the clamp is off the hose, or once it's been pulled back to about here, then you can pull the rest of it off. And I'm thinking also one more electrical connection right there. And then lastly, there's a brace right there, bolt connecting to a little brace to keep the throttle body from rattling around. That'll have to come off too, and I think then we'll be able to take the whole manifold off, or at least get close to it. Thought I should add that these two hoses were pretty... these two hoses there, one here and one here that I was referring to earlier, one that I marked with blue, were pretty difficult to get off of. They have a very secure connection here because of the tubing that they're on, and that's a little bit of coolant running through there. So it has to be a pretty tight connection. But fair warning, this is a 100,000 mile 2008 van, so it was a little tough. Took a little bit of prying with a screwdriver and getting underneath it from the back end to wiggle the blade tip underneath there, but eventually it did go. The electrical connection was just released, and just in case you don't have a mirror to look on the back side, I was able to see on the back side that there is a squish and release tab that you have to depress in order to be able to get that to disengage from the connection. Okay, just wanted to show that I've got a brace bolt that I've put back in there just to keep it from going anywhere. But notice on the back there, you see my ratchet hanging off of there. On the back of there is a 12 millimeter bracket, a nut affixing the throttle body, I believe, to a bracket back there that has to come off. It's without a mirror and almost without knowing that there's a bracket back there, it could be very difficult to figure out what was going on and what's keeping the throttle body on there. But I'm on it now, and hopefully we'll be able to get that nut off, and we'll get the intake manifold off here pretty quick. Okay, and relatively easier than some of the other parts. Here's one nut right there that have to come off. Two, and then three, and then hard to see, but back in there yet another bolt, and then that's the last nut that we took off right there. Those 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts require a metric Allen wrench to get those out, and actually they were in there really tough. It's very difficult. You can't hardly get a handheld one in there. You have to have the kind of Allen head wrench on a socket that you can metric as well, that you can get down in there on an extension, and then you can break that loose and get it out. I was hoping I would be done, but I'm not done yet. There's yet another tube right back here, a little breather that connects to the back of that manifold with a clamp on it that I'm going to have to remove, and then there may be another bolt back there yet. It's not ready to come off. Just wanted to show there's a 12 millimeter bolt that is extraordinarily difficult to get to. That bolt that I just took out is probably the one that would block most home mechanics from being able to complete this job. It was a completely blind bolt that I wasn't able to see in any pictures or manuals or anything like that. I'm showing you kind of where it was at in the general vicinity, but it's just completely blind. You have to take your hand, go completely behind and down, and then back upwards. There's a bracket behind there. It's almost impossible to get to. You do this entirely by feel. It takes a short ratchet because there's no room to work, and there's also a large wiring bundle right in front of the head of the bolt too, making that almost a one-armed process. Very, very difficult to get back to. I don't know how the Toyota mechanics do it. Maybe once you've done it once, you get better at it the next time, but that would be literally, it's not even just, it's not straight, it's almost up, lifted up, going back up towards the intake manifold. I didn't see any description of it. So really there's two bracket bolts. There was one behind on that side and one on the other side too. Very, very difficult to get to the one on the passenger side, or my left-hand side of the motor there. That one would have stopped a lot of people. So fair warning, unless you're used to working blind and have a pretty good feel for bolts and mechanic work, that one would probably stop a lot of people. There's just not much room back there to work. But if you are going to do it, 12 millimeter and a stubby wrench, not a long-handled ratchet, a very short-handled one is about the only way that you could get it off. This is the one that I use here, with an extension on it as well, a one-socket extension. So, yikes, that was tough. Okay, I'm going to be very careful now. The reason I'm saying that is right there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inlets. I don't want to be dropping anything down in there while I'm working, because that's going directly into your motor. You drop a bolt in there, then we just won't even want to think about that. But mostly what I want to do is show you that right there is the bracket that was on the back of the intake manifold that I had to go behind with a short wrench and take out. And of course, conveniently placed So bad, sorry. Here's the bracket, and right in front of it, or right above it, making it very difficult to get my socket on it, is some wiring harnessing that is not really going to move. So that little guy right there was very, very difficult to find. Successfully get a stubby ratchet behind with an extension on it and loosen to remove the intake manifold. And right there is the other one. That was much more straightforward to get to. And next steps will be to getting the spark plugs in. Alright, now that we can get to the business of getting spark plugs changed, it's a 10mm nut, bolt that holds on the, what do you want to call it, the coil pack over the spark plug. Just take it out. And then these lift straight out once you've disconnected the harness from them. And again, it's just a pinch right there, and then that helps release it. They don't come out easy, but it's hard to do this one-handed and hold this camera, but out it comes. Unfortunately, given the length and the depth of how far down those plugs are in, I'm looking at the back, and I see one right here, the second one, and the third one. It's going to be very difficult to be able to lift those straight out, given how long they are. I will probably have to remove some more hoses and brackets to make room for those to come out. Very unpleasant. It takes a really long extension to be able to get down all the way in there. They're about a mile deep, the plugs are. But, even if you have a good spark plug socket, you won't have any problem. I just lost the rubber on mine not too long ago, so now I'm just retrieving it with a magnet. And I've got a long piece of clear neoprene tubing that I use to start the next one. You just stab the tubing over your spark plug and drop the tubing down in there and twist it in, and it has just enough grip to start the spark plug pretty nicely. And you won't cross-thread anything using a piece of rubber tubing. But they're the plugs are very deep in there. Okay, creeping along, we now have 1, 2, 3 new plugs in. I had a piece of one of my plastic tabs that I squished to pull out actually popped off. It was kind of part of the locking mechanism, so I actually kept that tab because, believe it or not, you can just lay it back on top of there. It still helps lock the piece in, and then put the electrical tape around that really tight to keep that tab from moving, and we just kind of move on. Not too much. Plastic bakes after a while. It's about 105,000 miles on the van. So now to the dreaded back plugs. There's 3 of them, and I've wound up taking off one of the nuts right here that holds on a piece of plastic. That maybe I can help push this wire out of the way and start lifting out some of these plugs from the back from there. Really not much space to work back there, pretty rough. Let's see how it goes. Alright, it's kind of hard to tell. There's just no room hardly back there to look and see where the spark plug hole is there, but it's there. We did get the bolt removed, just like this. It's the same in the back. Really what I'm filming is to let you know that one of these magnets here has been a lifesaver for getting that spark plug out of the back there. Since there's so little room and yet it's so deep, I wound up practically putting a socket in first into the hole, then an extension, and then my socket wrench, just to loosen up the spark plug. And then you practically have to disassemble everything again, break it apart just to pull it back out. I left my socket head down in there, and the kind that doesn't have that socket head doesn't have any rubber grommet inside of it to hold on to the spark plug, which is probably a blessing because there's so little room back behind there. If you did stick a spark plug socket on the end of the plug, you might have a devil of a time getting it off if it had that rubber inside the socket to grip it too tight. By leaving everything loose, I was able to take this pencil magnet, stick it down in there, and retrieve sockets, spark plug, and such, and even kind of take it out at an angle and bring it back up from the back. So handy little thing here, telescoping pencil magnet. Go get one if you're going to do this job. This here is the low-tech but highly effective neoprene rubber stuck over the end of a spark plug. It'll allow me to, at a bad angle, really bad angle, get that plug down into the hole, and you can go ahead and start spinning it, and you will get one of the spark plugs started down in that hole. And then once it's started, then you can just pop your hose off, and it leaves the spark plug down in there, and then you can put your sockets together and get it down in there and finish the job. But pretty handy way to get a spark plug started when you're working blind, and it is completely blind back there in that awful little space. I thought I could maybe get by without doing it, but that brace right there, that bracket, does have to come out. So anyway, I think it's just yet another 10 millimeter nut. It's gonna have to come off, and then I'll be able to get that middle spark plug out. But I'll take off the bracket, and that'll let the hose move, and then I can lift out that insulator around the spark plug. This is the last plug that I'm working on, and this bracket here that was so tough on the back side that I was working blind is also completely over the next plug, perfectly over it. So back further behind it, it's hard to see, but there's yet another nut, so I'll bolt off to take that one out and take the whole bracket off. Okay, all the plugs are installed. I double checked once again that all my connections are made back there, that all these are fully seated, because you know, if you don't do it right, I may have to tear it all down again, and really would not want to be doing that. That would be kind of heartbreaking right now. Now I got to remember to put all those brackets back and all the nuts and try to get all my connections back without forgetting anything.